Hello, this is Maurice, and in this video I'll be explaining how to create a pivot table slash chart on the Mac version of Excel. Creating a pivot table is a great way to summarize large amounts of data and find other significant data that has practical use. The charts are basically a way to look at that same data graphically. Okay, so here we have the data we're going to use to create our pivot table. The data being used comes from Airbnb hosts in Washington, D.C. and includes some details about specific Airbnbs in that location. Well, you know how we talked about pivot tables being able to sort through large amounts of data? Well, here we have a large amount of data. We're not going to sort through each and every single data entry and try to figure out what we need to figure out. We're going to use a pivot table. To get there, I already have it up, but to get there you click the Insert tab. The first thing you should see in the left hand corner is Pivot Table. Everything else here is stuff that we might need to bring up later, but for now we're just going to focus on the Pivot Table. Okay, so now that we're in the Insert tab, to create a pivot table you need to select all of the data, which you can do by clicking this wedge in the corner and select all the data. We're going to go over to pivot table. It's going to ask us about our range in the table, and of course we selected everything, so we're going to select everything and we're going to create it in a new worksheet. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to make the pivot table actually show us the data we want to see. So we're going to assign some fields. Alright, for the columns we're going to drag the neighborhood field. For rows, we're going to assign that to room type. And for the sum values, we're going to add price. But for price, we're going to find the average price. And we're going to make it a little more specific and go over the number here and make sure it's a number with 2 decimal places. Okay. I forgot to mention before, but once you open up a pivot table, there will be 2 more tabs that pop up. One is Pivot Table Analyze and one is Design. In the Pivot Table Analyze tab, you'll have an option to open up your field list again and change some other settings and some other actions you can do with the pivot table. Okay, so now that we've done that, we have a pivot table that displays the fields that we put into the field list before, which was the room types, neighborhoods, and the average price of those room types based on the neighborhood. Alright, it's time to get crazy. Now that we've seen how a pivot table can extract and display the data we're asking to, we're going to go a little further and add a filter to the table. A filter can add additional help in finding the specific data you need. Alright, just for an example, we're going to set a filter for the minimum nights that we can stay at each Airbnb based on the room and neighborhood and price. To do that, we're going to open up our field list, go back into Pivot Table Design, Field List. We're going to drop minimum nights into filters. Once you do that, you should see a pop-up over here, which allows you to go in and set some filters. Right when you click into it first, they're all going to be selected. Deselect all. Just for the sake, we're going to see where we can stay for the minimum of 2, 3, or 4 nights. Click out of here, and now the data being shown, it reflects the filter we put on. Okay, so now it's time to really get crazy. It's time to make a pivot chart. Making a pivot chart on a Mac is a little different from when you're making it on a Microsoft computer. For a Mac user, you go to Insert, you select all your data, you see these charts over here. We want to make a bar chart and a clustered column chart. So we'll click clustered column. And once you click that, it should render you up a chart detailing the neighborhoods and the room types and basically what price level these rooms go to, these areas. And if you need to analyze it, it's all there, simple, and it'll be just quick to look at. I'm Maurice Weston, and I'm a finance major.